My name is Carmen Rodriguez, and today I celebrate my 32nd birthday. I currently share a home with my husband David, who is 4 years my senior, and our delightful 8-year-old daughter Sophia. We are a loving family of 3. Today's agenda includes attending a children's hospital charity event, although the connection is stronger with David's company than with me personally, as his IT consulting firm is one of the major sponsors. The event is hosted at a luxurious downtown hotel, and I can't help but feel proud that we're contributing to such an important cause. As David networked and exchanged greetings with various business associates, I excused myself from the VIP lounge to check on the silent auction items in the main hall. Upon returning, I was unfortunately met with harsh whispers that seemed deliberately loud and pointed. The comments were cruel and hurtful, though I couldn't immediately understand why they were being directed my way. Wanting to avoid any confrontation, I chose to leave the area quickly. As I walked away, a sharp voice called out to grab my attention, but I continued moving, determined not to engage with whatever drama was unfolding. My attempt to distance myself only seemed to encourage pursuit as I heard hurried footsteps behind me. Ignoring them only led to my arm being roughly grabbed. I turned to face a flustered woman who looked shocked when I firmly pulled my arm free, causing her to stumble backward dramatically. At that moment, another woman rushed over, accusing me of being rude and disrespectful, demanding to know who I thought I was in an aggressive tone. Despite her hostile approach, I genuinely didn't recognize her or the first woman. They introduced themselves as my stepsister Victoria and my stepmother, names that stirred uncomfortable memories I'd tried to forget. The situation escalated quickly as they grew frustrated with my calm responses. Soon, 2 men approached, drawn by the growing scene. One was my stepfather, and the other was Marcus, Victoria's husband. Their reactions were telling. My stepfather looked irritated to see me, while Marcus appeared genuinely confused, his face draining of color. The confrontation intensified as Victoria accused me of crashing their important charity event. This awkward encounter at what should have been a dignified fundraiser, surrounded by people who clearly had no understanding of basic respect, left me feeling unsettled. As accusations flew, I stood there calmly, surrounded by people from a past I'd moved beyond, in what should have been a meaningful evening of giving back. The tension in the elegant hotel ballroom was unmistakable as a heated exchange unfolded during the charity event. Amidst the chaos, someone called for event staff, hoping to restore order to the escalating situation. "Please keep your voices down. This is a charity event," I heard someone whisper urgently. At that moment, my stepfather immediately sided with Victoria, while Marcus, looking deeply uncomfortable, tried to calm everyone down. In the midst of this, I spoke quietly, my words barely audible over the commotion. Just then, my husband David appeared, his presence immediately commanding attention from the gathering crowd. "There you are, Carmen. I was wondering where you'd gone," he said warmly, his professional demeanor intact despite the obvious tension. I managed a slight smile. "I ran into some people from my past," I said simply, the irony of the situation not lost on me. David quickly assessed the scene with his analytical mind. Victoria, initially surprised by David's arrival, shot me a venomous look as I moved to stand beside my husband. My step-parents looked on, clearly rattled by the unfolding events, while Marcus, visibly flustered, was the first to break the silence. "Mr. Chin, I must apologize. My wife got carried away." "I'm truly sorry to you and your wife as well," he stammered, then turned to Victoria. "Come on, Victoria, you need to apologize." Victoria, defiant, snapped back, "Why should I apologize? They should be the ones apologizing." She continued to accuse me of ruining their evening. "This woman is a disgrace to our family. We should have cut all contact with her years ago and never seen her again." The revelations seemed to stun Marcus as he looked back and forth between Victoria and me, trying to understand our connection. Just then, my step-parents jumped in with their own apology. "Oh Marcus, we're so sorry. Our former foster daughter has always been trouble," they explained, revealing that they had cut ties with me 10 years earlier. "We've tried to keep this private. How did she even know about this charity event?" Surely she isn't here to cause problems? They painted me as the family burden who, after high school, never amounted to anything and drifted from one dead-end job to another. She was nothing but a drain on our resources. She should be grateful we took her in and supported her through high school, they added, creating a completely false picture of my past. Despite the cruel words, I felt strangely calm. These were indeed the people who had taken me in after my parents died, but any emotional connection to them had died long ago. They had always favored their biological daughter Victoria, who was 3 years younger than me. My stepfather had been a high school principal, and my stepmother a math teacher. To outsiders, we might have appeared to be a stable, educated family, but the reality was a household filled with favoritism and emotional neglect. I remember desperately trying to win their approval in my early years with them, only to eventually give up as they openly favored Victoria for reasons I could never understand. Unlike the pampered and adored Victoria, I was the unwanted outsider. But I was resilient and naturally gifted, which became my escape route from that suffocating environment. As I grew older, their message to me was crystal clear: you won't be going to college. We've done enough by raising you. Start working right after high school and contribute to this household. Be grateful we gave you a roof over your head at all. Their expectations for me were based purely on obligation, not on any belief in my abilities. Meanwhile, they were already planning Victoria's college fund, highlighting the stark difference in how they treated us. Through these painful experiences, I learned that hoping for parental love from them was pointless. My focus shifted entirely to creating my own path away from the role of the unwanted foster child toward complete independence and self-sufficiency. During my senior year of high school, my step-parents made their low expectations perfectly clear. Even if you do manage to get some job, it won't be anything special, they would say with dismissive certainty. Unbeknownst to them, I had been recording these harsh conversations throughout my high school years. I carefully documented the emotional abuse and unreasonable demands from my stepfamily. My stepsister Victoria, following her parents' lead, often belittled me and openly declared her intention to succeed where they claimed I would fail. I'm going to own the most successful beauty salon in the city and marry well. Don't worry, I'll make enough success for both of us since my stepsister obviously can't, she'd announce proudly as my stepparents beamed with approval. These conversations, openly cruel, happened regularly like a rehearsed performance, emphasizing their contempt for me while celebrating Victoria as the family's golden child. After high school, I worked various part-time jobs for about 4 years. Technically, I was still living in their house where I was treated like an unwelcome burden, yet they refused to let me leave, wanting to maintain control over me and my earnings. Secretly, I rented a small apartment, knowing that as an adult, I no longer needed their permission to make my own choices. There were obstacles, like finding someone to co-sign the lease, but I underreported my actual income to reduce the money they demanded from me. I also began investing my savings, slowly building my financial independence. When Victoria was preparing for beauty school applications, she complained that she couldn't focus with me around, and I was finally told to leave. My step-parents probably expected this to be temporary, but for me, it was the freedom I desperately needed to achieve complete independence. To their shock, I never came back. Over time, I became a distant memory to them. Victoria was all they cared about anyway. 10 years later, while attending a charity event, I overheard a tense conversation between Victoria and her husband Marcus. Despite the stress, it seemed to be confusion about the guest list. Marcus insisted that I was an invited attendee. This was a fundraiser that Victoria had been bragging about organizing, though I felt completely disconnected from her world, as my interest in the stepfamily drama had disappeared long ago. As the discussion grew heated, my stepfather suddenly recognized Marcus's connection to a successful real estate investment firm. Wait, isn't he with Wellington Properties? The company that developed those luxury condos downtown, he exclaimed, clearly impressed. My stepmother and Victoria shared his surprise, suddenly understanding the prestige of the connection. At that moment, my husband David stepped forward to introduce himself. Good evening. I'm David Chen, and this is my wife, Carmen, he said with professional warmth. David's IT consulting company had earned recognition throughout the region, and he himself was a respected entrepreneur who had built his business from the ground up with innovative tech solutions. My step-parents' reaction was one of complete shock, a dramatic contrast to their previous dismissal of my worth. Suddenly, in the midst of their surprise and awkward attempts at reconciliation, Marcus spoke up, perhaps trying to clarify the situation or ease the tension that his in-laws' sudden interest had created. It's hard to believe that David Chen's wife is my stepsister. What are the odds of such a coincidence? I guess that makes us family now, said Marcus Thompson, a real estate investment manager and my stepsister's husband, clearly struggling to process this revelation. He expressed his apologies for any past misunderstandings involving his family. I had recently worked with Marcus's firm on a property investment for our company, marking our only direct professional connection besides David's business relationships with other tech entrepreneurs, including some who knew Marcus and respected his work ethic. How's that digital marketing campaign going for your new office location? From what I've seen of your company's growth, you should consider expanding into our premium commercial district. I could arrange a private viewing of some prime spaces, Marcus offered genuinely. Despite his well-meaning suggestion, I remained cautious. Thank you, but we're taking our time to evaluate all our options. His surprise was obvious, probably because he saw this as a valuable business opportunity, but I was careful about mixing family complications with professional decisions. Suddenly, a sharp voice interrupted. Why are you acting so important? Marrying a tech CEO doesn't change who you really are or where you came from. And thinking you can run a successful business? That poor company. It was Victoria, my stepsister, her words dripping with jealousy and spite. Marcus quickly stepped in. Victoria, please stop. We're family now. Why are you saying such hurtful things? Unmoved by Marcus's plea, Victoria remained stubbornly defensive and hostile. David, observing this exchange, turned to me with concern in his eyes. Carmen, are these really your family? I shook my head firmly. No, these people stopped being my family a long time ago. I began sharing the painful truth of my childhood, how they would punish me for things Victoria did, make me do all the household chores while she was exempted, give me hand-me-downs while buying Victoria new clothes, and even throw away my art supplies and school projects. They're not my family, I stated clearly. Real family doesn't force you to work like a servant, lock you out of the house as punishment, or take your part-time job earnings without permission. The conversation exposed the extent of the unfair treatment I had endured, shocking Marcus and even unsettling my step-parents. The neighborhood had long whispered about the way I was treated compared to Victoria, but my step-parents never acknowledged that their favoritism was the problem. As this painful history came to light, David, who had gradually learned about my difficult past, felt a deep anger on my behalf that was even stronger than my own. David and I had quietly been supporting organizations that helped foster children, partly inspired by my experiences. Stop it. Stop making things up. We never did those things. It's your fault for being difficult. Marcus, don't believe a word she says. Victoria protested frantically. But it was too late. Marcus looked at her with growing disgust. I realized that none of this drama would have happened if she had simply ignored me when she first saw me. Instead, the truth about our stepfamily was now exposed, changing everything irreversibly. Marcus questioned my account. What exactly are you claiming? I asked, genuinely puzzled by his challenge. Mrs. Chen, he claimed, had only finished high school. But I knew better. She was not only a college graduate with an MBA but a successful entrepreneur and CEO of a digital marketing company that had worked with several major clients in our area. My stepsister looked at me, shocked, as if I had revealed something impossible. My step-parents were equally stunned. Stop making things up. She's just a high school graduate, my stepsister insisted. Are you saying she went to college without us knowing? My stepmother questioned, her tone accusatory. Yes, I did attend college, I confirmed. I was an adult with no obligation to inform people who had made it clear I wasn't really family. Their disbelief was obvious. How dare you speak to your parents this way? We never gave you permission to go to college, my stepfather exclaimed angrily. Why would I need your permission? I replied calmly, my response leaving them visibly furious. After high school, I worked multiple jobs and saved enough money to fund my college tuition and living expenses. My determination to learn and grow was unshakable, and living independently gave me the freedom to pursue my dreams. During college, I started my own freelance design business and met my future husband. These memories brought up complex emotions within me. Meanwhile, my stepsister, her face pale, whispered to herself, I can't believe it. I always thought she was too stupid to accomplish anything meaningful on her own. She seemed genuinely confused by my success, unable to understand how I appeared happier and more successful than her. Maybe it's because, despite how your family treated me, I never gave up on myself. And maybe I was fortunate to find people who actually believed in me, I suggested. Turning to address my stepsister directly, I shared another piece of information. By the way, I heard you never actually finished beauty school. Is that true? This revelation shocked everyone, including Marcus and my former step-parents. What are you talking about? Who didn't finish beauty school? My stepsister replied, though I could see her trying to maintain her composure. A family friend who had stayed in touch with me after I left had shared the details of her struggles after I moved out. He mentioned her laziness and lack of commitment to her studies, which led to her failing out. After that, she became increasingly isolated and only recently started working again through connections her parents had made. As I continued, Marcus's expression grew more serious, and my step-parents and stepsister looked increasingly uncomfortable. This friend, despite our infrequent contact, had always been kind to me and had helped me when I needed references in the past. What garbage are you spreading? My stepsister said, her voice shaking. I continued, and isn't it also true that your claim about running a successful salon is false? You're actually just a regular employee, not the owner or manager. Stop it. You're lying, she shouted desperately. Maybe what I heard was just gossip. You can believe what you want, I concluded with a shrug. At that, my stepsister turned to Marcus, searching his face for any sign of support or rejection. His expression showed doubt, confusion, and growing disgust. She had claimed to be a successful salon owner with proper business credentials, but now even that seemed doubtful. Marcus was questioning the validity of the qualifications my stepsister had presented about her beauty industry success. Are you telling me all of that was made up? He asked, suspecting she had lied about her professional achievements, which felt like a complete betrayal. Have you been lying to me this entire time? He pressed for an honest answer. No, Marcus, please don't believe her over me. You're my husband. You should trust me, she begged, desperation obvious in her voice. However, Marcus wasn't satisfied and challenged her further. Then name just one instructor from the beauty school you claim to have attended, he demanded. Caught completely off guard and visibly panicking, my stepsister couldn't provide a single name. That's not what matters right now, is it? She tried to deflect. But Marcus wouldn't let it go. Really? Let's call the beauty school right now and verify your graduation. He had connections in the beauty industry through his real estate work, as several salon owners were his clients. As Marcus reached for his smartphone, determined to get to the truth, my stepsister lost control. Please stop. That's not necessary, Marcus. If you trust me, that should be enough, she begged frantically. Suddenly, in a moment of pure panic, Victoria lunged forward and grabbed the smartphone from Marcus's hand, hurling it to the ground. Consumed by rage, she began stomping on it repeatedly with her stiletto heels, completely destroying the device. Her face twisted with fury, making her look absolutely unhinged. This shocking outburst stunned everyone around us, including Marcus. The sudden explosion drew stares from other charity event attendees and staff members who watched in horror. In the chaos that followed, my step-parents tried desperately to calm Victoria down, but her anger seemed unstoppable. For several moments, the elegant hotel ballroom was disrupted by this embarrassing scene. Watching all this unfold, I felt completely disconnected, as if this drama involved complete strangers rather than people from my past. At that moment, I knew with certainty that my real family was David and Sophia. Should we head home? I suggested to my husband David, who looked surprised by the sudden suggestion. Are we leaving already, Carmen? He asked. I smiled peacefully and replied, yes, let's go home. Oh, and let's stop by that French bakery downstairs on our way out. They have those macarons Sophia loves. That sounds perfect, David agreed, and with a quiet laugh, we gracefully left the chaotic scene behind us. Later, I learned that Marcus had filed for divorce and was pursuing legal action for fraud regarding Victoria's false credentials. Following this, my former step-parents, now facing serious financial problems, desperately tried to contact me for help. However, they didn't have my current information and showed up at David's company offices, causing a scene while demanding to see us. So she's the wife of the tech CEO. She is our daughter. Please let us see her right away, they proclaimed loudly at the company reception, causing quite a disturbance. Contacting the CEO should solve our problems instantly. We're in serious trouble. We need her to repay the kindness we showed raising her. We are family, so it's only natural for her to help us, they argued, completely unaware of how entitled they sounded. However, it wasn't David or I who responded, but coincidentally David's parents, who happened to be visiting the office that day. With cold expressions, they firmly asked my step-parents, "What business do you have with our daughter-in-law?" Taken aback by the stern response, my step-parents literally froze in place and quickly fled the scene, continuing to attempt contacting us multiple times afterward. When I learned that my step-parents had lost their teaching positions due to complaints about their treatment of foster children, I felt surprisingly little. Instead, there was a sense of relief, a feeling that they had finally faced the consequences of their own actions. It felt like a weight had been lifted from my life. Later, I heard that Victoria and Marcus's marriage had ended in divorce. Considering the fraud revelations and Marcus's complete loss of trust, it was actually surprising their marriage had lasted even those few months. Victoria, always trying to compete with my success, had made yet another terrible choice. In her desperation for a better life, she began an affair with a wealthy, married real estate developer, hoping it would improve her situation. However, when the affair was discovered, it created a massive scandal, and the man's wife demanded financial compensation. In desperation, Victoria turned to her parents, but they disowned her, calling her a complete embarrassment to the family. After that, Victoria's life continued its downward spiral. She had already struggled with her beauty school education, dropping out multiple times, which led her to live an increasingly isolated life. Eventually, she ended up working at questionable establishments, facing challenges that affected her health and stability. As these updates reached me through mutual acquaintances, my interest in her situation completely disappeared. Meanwhile, my step-parents found themselves unable to secure new teaching positions. No school district would hire them, likely due to their reputation for favoritism and the complaints that had surfaced. They had become nothing more than distant memories from a chapter of my life I had long since closed. On a much brighter note, Sophia's health continued to improve with proper care from specialists we trusted. She was thriving in school and no longer needed any special medical attention. This progress reinforced my determination to do everything possible to protect and nurture my real family, staying far away from the chaos that had once surrounded me.